Hush now, the stars have opened their eyes, and so too must we to the wonders of old. I am Alira Moondrift, and this is Story Time, a moment of magic woven through the twilight by the Fantasy Broadcast Network. Let your heart be still, for the tale is ready to begin. Hansel and Gretel, written by Brothers Grimm. Once upon a time, in a remote village, a poor woodcutter had a cabin with his wife and his two children, Hansel and Gretel. One day, during a famine, the woodcutter took his family to the forest at a distant, plenty with berries, mushrooms, and herbs so that they could gather food. He told them that they had to return before the sun set, but he lost his way and night fell upon them. The family wandered further into the forest, unable to find their way back home. The woodcutter told his children, "Children, we are lost. Keep walking until you come to the edge of the forest and you will find your way back home." But the children, being small and weary, could not walk through the forest any longer, and they sat down in desperation. The moon rose high and the first stars appeared in the sky. They could see that they were in the depths of the wilderness. Hansel, who was 10 years old and full of energy, wandered a little apart from his sister. In his despair he wept, and his tears fell on the ground and traced a white path. When the woodcutter's wife saw the path, she said, "Hansel, it is a good sign that the good God has sent us this white path to follow, and we must follow it." So they followed the white path, and it led them to their cabin deep within the forest. They ate the bread they had brought with them and were refreshed. Thus they lived in the forest for some days, and the white path again showed them the way back home. When they returned home, the woodcutter's wife said, "I shall never let you out of my sight again. We shall go out daily and gather strawberries, raspberries, mushrooms, and blackberries, and when we have gathered a large quantity, we shall sell them in the city and live comfortably, and we shall never be hungry again." But alas, the hard fate which had driven them into the wilderness pursued them still. Not long afterwards, the woodcutter went into the forest to fell trees, but he spent the whole day in cutting down a single tree, and when he returned home, he found his children missing. The stepmother said, "It is worth nothing that we should have been living in misery and dinner at home, and you have lost your children." Then Hansel said, "Do not sorrow, mother, I shall find Gretel in the forest. I left a white pebble to mark the place where we exchanged our talk, and by that I shall find the path again." When he reached the place where he had left their mark, he found the white pebble and followed the path, but he could not find Gretel. He wept and looked everywhere, but she was not to be seen. He wandered sadly through the forest until night fell. The full moon shone brightly, and Hansel saw before him a light, which seemed to shine from a small house of upset cake and toffee that he had never before seen in the forest. He ran towards the beautiful cottage and cried, "Oh, lonely house, open that I may rest a while." Tapping came from within, the door swung open, and an old, childlike voice called out, "Answer the question that I ask you, and I'll give you something to eat." "What is thine, kind hostess?" "What do thou wanted?" said Hansel. "Only answer truly, Hansel, and I will reward you. How big is the heap of corn in our barn?" "As big as it is from the door to the door," replied Hansel without hesitation. He had not waited long in the barn, and he knew that the heap was enormous. "Oh, his head with the pile, and I'll give you something to eat." "Fear nothing, only the good God shall do that, but I don't know whether I can guess correctly how much corn there is in the barn." "Then try, Hansel, or you will starve." "Well, since I must guess, I think the heap may be as big as from this door to the mill." "That is too little, off with his head." The old woman reached for her pike, but Hansel was quicker and ran away, and the witch could not catch hold of him. Hansel fled through the forest, but he saw Gretel in a cage, and he cried to her, "Gretel, Gretel." When the old witch went to look, she heard Hansel's cry, and she ran after him. But Hansel climbed a tree and waited for her. "Clumsy Hansel, you will never guess the heap of corn in our barn." "Oh, if only I could guess how much corn you have in the barn, my dear stepmother, I would not have escaped so easily. But since I can't guess, I don't know, I would have to say it was as big as from this door to the village church." "Oh, that is too far, off with his head." But again the old woman could not catch him, and he climbed another tree and had to keep running until dawn. Now the old witch ran back to her cottage, knowing she could not catch him, and she cried bitterly. She said to herself, "Tomorrow I will grind his sister, her bones shall be white bread, and I will eat her." The old witch woke up Gretel early in the morning and asked her, "Answer me, pretty Gretel, and I'll give you something to eat. How big is the pile of pebbles in the yard?" Gretel believed she had nothing to lose, and so she answered, "It is as big as the pile of corn in the barn." "Oh, no, it isn't. Off with your head? Sleepy-eyed Gretel, you didn't see it at all, so you might easily lose your head, but I will show you mercy. You can pick up the stones one by one, and so I'll give you something to eat. Kind witch, allow me to go to the spring to wash my fingers, for I can augment no grain of sand with my hands, and will do it slowly. Go, pretty Gretel. Gretel walked to the spring, but she filled her apron with pebbles and returned home. The old witch looked at it and said, "You may go again." Gretel went to the spring twice more, and the pebbles grew fewer and fewer. When she came the third time, there were no more pebbles to be seen. Then the witch cried out, "Dirty pig! Pig-minded, you have deceived me. Here you sit and eat while your brother is wandering in the forest, and now you have run away with all my gold and my silver." "That is not true, wicked witch. I have only been washing my hands." But the old witch tapped her with the pike, and Gretel screamed, and the witch was terribly frightened, for it was seen that she had only a broken backbone, and when the sun came near the door, the witch turned into an old gray hag. Gretel screamed, "Father, mother, it's me, Gretel." The woodcutter and his wife ran out of the house, and the old witch, in her last desperate attempt to capture the children, tapped the pike against the door. But it would not open, and she began to whirl around the room, continually striking the door with the pike, until at last it was broken in pieces, and she was split asunder by a crow who came from the forest and croaked, "Peace be to you, old witch, for you will feel it soon." The woodcutter and his wife rushed into the cottage and fell upon their knees before their children, weeping for joy. They took them in their arms and commended themselves to the good God. They vowed that they would never more forget their children and would be better to them and kinder than they had been in the past.